Here's your section 1. Hook/opening incident written in simple, easy-to-follow English, about 500 words. Section 1. Hook/opening incident. The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains as Alicia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her wedding dress. In just a few days, she was supposed to walk down the aisle and marry the man she thought was the love of her life, David. Her heart was racing with excitement and nerves. She had dreamed of this moment for years. Her friends had told her she was glowing. Her mother said David was a good man. Even her father, who was usually hard to impress, had nodded in approval when David asked for Alicia's hand. To Alicia, it felt like everything was finally falling into place. That morning, she decided to visit the bridal shop early. She wanted to check one last time that her gown fit perfectly. It was supposed to be a quick visit, a private moment before the busy day ahead. She imagined herself standing in front of the mirror, practicing her smile, pretending David was already waiting at the altar. But when she pushed open the door to the fitting room, her whole world collapsed. At first, she froze. The air felt heavy, like time had stopped. Her eyes took in the scene slowly, almost against her will. David, her David, wasn't alone. He was standing too close to someone, their heads bent together. Then Alicia saw the truth. His hands, his lips, his warmth, all pressed against her younger sister, Emily. Emily, her sister, the girl who had grown up in the same house, eaten at the same dinner table, borrowed her clothes, and cried on her shoulder after breakups. Now she was in David's arms. A sound escaped Alicia's throat, half gasp, half cry. Both of them turned. David's face drained of color. Emily's eyes widened, but not with guilt, more like annoyance at being caught. Alicia, wait, it's not what you think, David stammered, already pulling away, his voice shaky. But Alicia couldn't move. Her hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the door. Her chest tightened until it hurt to breathe. Not what she thought. She had eyes. She had a heart. And in one cruel instant, both told her the same thing. Everything she believed about love, loyalty, and family had been a lie. Emily opened her mouth, but Alicia raised a hand, shaking her head, her lips too numb to speak. She didn't want excuses. She didn't want lies. She wanted to wake up and discover this was only a nightmare. But it wasn't. The wedding dress waiting in its box suddenly felt like a cruel joke. The rings, the promises, the future she had imagined, all of it had turned to dust in front of her. Her eyes blurred with tears, but the image was burned into her mind. Her fiancé, her sister, together. In that moment, Alicia's world cracked. She wasn't just losing a husband-to-be. She was losing her sister. She was losing trust. She was losing the dream she had built her whole life around. One thought pulsed in her head as the tears fell silently. If the two people I trusted most could betray me like this, what was left of my life at all? Alicia grew up as the older daughter in a family that always expected her to be the responsible one. From a young age, she was the one who stayed up late studying, the one who helped her mother in the kitchen, the one who made sure Emily, her younger sister, never got into too much trouble. Teachers praised Alicia for her discipline, neighbors called her the good one, and her parents leaned on her whenever life felt heavy. She didn't complain. She thought that being reliable was the way to earn love. Emily was different. She was the wild one, always chasing attention, always finding ways to get out of chores. Where Alicia's clothes were neat and simple, Emily's were flashy and bold. When Alicia stayed home to study, Emily sneaked out to parties. And while Alicia worked hard to make her parents proud, Emily seemed to test their patience at every turn. But even then, Alicia loved her sister deeply. She often covered for her, even when it meant taking the blame. She told herself it was her duty as the older one. As they grew older, the differences between them only grew stronger. Alicia worked long hours to build a career. She dreamed of stability, of building a safe and steady life that her parents could admire. Emily, on the other hand, drifted from one thing to another. She changed jobs, boyfriends, and plans without much thought. Still, their parents often looked at Emily with softer eyes, perhaps because she was the youngest, or perhaps because her reckless charm drew people in. Then came David. Alicia met him at a friend's small dinner party. He wasn't the loudest man in the room, but his calm confidence caught her attention. He spoke with kindness, asked about her dreams, and listened in a way that made her feel seen. For once, Alicia felt like someone wasn't just looking at what she could do for them, they were looking at her. David seemed safe. He seemed like the kind of man who would never betray her. They started dating slowly. At first, Alicia was hesitant. She had spent so much of her life focusing on responsibilities that love felt almost like a luxury. But David was patient. He showed up when she was tired from work, cooked her dinner when she forgot to eat, and encouraged her when she doubted herself. For the first time, Alicia allowed herself to believe in a future that wasn't just about duty, but also about joy. To her, David was more than a fiancé. He was a promise that all her sacrifices had been worth it. Every late night of studying, every time she put her own needs last, every dream she postponed. It all seemed to lead here to him. Emily, however, reacted differently. When Alicia first introduced David to the family, Emily made little jokes, teasing Alicia for finally catching a man. Sometimes she laughed too loudly at David's jokes, or touched his arm a second too long, but Alicia brushed it off. She told herself she was overthinking. Emily had always been playful, and Alicia believed her sister would never cross such a line. But deep down, there was always an undercurrent between them. Alicia was used to being the one who worked hard, and Emily the one who lived freely. Their parents often compared them, sometimes gently, sometimes sharply. Alicia was praised for being dependable, but the warmth of their mother's gaze often went to Emily. Their father trusted Alicia with serious matters, but at family gathering, it was Emily who made everyone laugh. This quiet imbalance shaped Alicia's heart. She wanted to prove that her way of living, steady, loyal, disciplined, was just as valuable as Emily's carefree charm. Marrying David wasn't only about love. It was about finally having something of her own, something undeniable, something no one could take away. That's why the betrayal cut so deep. David had been her anchor, the man she believed would protect her from heartbreak. Emily had been her sister, the one she had defended countless times. To lose them both in the same moment wasn't just painful. It threatened the foundation of who Alicia believed she was. She had spent her life being the responsible daughter, the loyal partner, the forgiving sister. And yet, despite all the sacrifices, she was the one left broken. In Alicia's heart, the question grew louder. If even her best efforts led to betrayal, what hope was there for love or family at all? Alicia stood frozen in the bridal shop doorway, her hands shaking, her chest so tight she could barely breathe. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but her body refused to move. David was the first to speak. "Alicia, listen to me. It's not what it looks like," he said quickly, stepping toward her. His voice was low, urgent, as though he could smooth away the truth if he just spoke fast enough. Her eyes burned with tears. "Not what it looks like," she whispered. "I just saw you kissing my sister." Emily crossed her arms and rolled her eyes, her tone sharp. "You're being dramatic, Alicia. It just happened. It didn't mean anything." The words struck harder than the act itself. Didn't mean anything? Alicia's world was falling apart, and Emily sounded as though she had spilled a drink on the floor. David reached out, trying to take Alicia's hand, but she pulled back. "It was a mistake," he said firmly. "We were stressed, we weren't thinking. It doesn't change how I feel about you." Alicia stared at him in disbelief. She wanted to believe there was some explanation, some reason that would make sense. But then she saw the way David and Emily glanced at each other. Quick, guilty practice. It wasn't the look of two people who had made a one-time mistake. It was the look of two people with a secret. Her heart dropped. "How long?" she asked quietly. Neither of them answered. "How long?" she cried, her voice cracking. Emily looked away, biting her lip, but David sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "A few months," he muttered. Alicia felt like the air had been punched out of her lungs. Months. While she was planning a wedding, while she was pouring her heart into a future with him, they had been betraying her behind her back. Her legs barely carried her as she stumbled out of the shop. Tears blurred her vision. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away from them. By the time she reached her parents' house that evening, the news had already traveled. Emily had beaten her there, spinning her version of the story. Their mother's face was pale when Alicia walked in. "Sweetheart," her mother began gently. "Emily told us what happened. It was a terrible mistake, but maybe you should try to calm down before making decisions." "Calm down?" Alicia's voice shook. "She was with my fiancé. And you want me to calm down?" Emily, sitting on the couch, lifted her chin proudly. "It wasn't like that. You're twisting it." Alicia turned on her. "Twisting it? You kissed him. You admitted it's been going on for months." Her father stepped forward, his face hard. "Is that true?" he asked sharply, looking between David and Emily. David had followed Alicia into the house and now stood behind her, his hands raised as if surrendering. "Yes, but I love Alicia. I made a mistake. I want to make things right. Please, let's not ruin everything over this." The words sounded like poison. Ruin everything? He had already ruined it. Her mother shook her head. "Think about the wedding, Alicia. The guests, the invitations. It will be shameful if you call it off now. Sometimes it's better to forgive for the sake of peace." Alicia's throat tightened. Even now, her mother was thinking about reputation, not her pain. She turned to her father, desperate for support. But he only sighed and rubbed his forehead. "This is a mess," he said softly. "Alicia, you have to decide. Do you want to end it all, or do you want to move past this?" Move past it. As if her heart wasn't lying in pieces on the floor. As if betrayal from the two people she trusted most could simply be forgotten. Alicia looked at each of them, her mother urging her to stay quiet, her father too tired to fight, Emily defiant and unashamed, David begging with his eyes. Her voice broke as she whispered, "You've already made the choice for me." And in that moment, She knew she was standing at a crossroad: protect the fragile peace her family wanted, or protect her own dignity. The days after the discovery felt like a blur to Alicia. She moved through them as if her body was alive, but her heart had stopped beating. Every corner of her mind carried the memory of that bridal shop. David's hands on Emily. Emily's smug eyes. The sound of her own voice breaking when she cried, "How long?" But as the shock slowly gave way to thought, small memories began to surface, and they cut her even deeper. Times when David had canceled a date last minute, saying he was working late. Times when Emily had borrowed her car without warning and returned it smelling faintly of David's cologne. Moments at family dinners when she noticed David and Emily sharing a glance, too quick for anyone else to catch, but long enough that her stomach twisted. She had dismissed them all back then, trusting too much, refusing to believe betrayal could be so close. Now she saw it clearly. The signs had always been there, and she had been blind. David called her again and again, filling her phone with messages. "I'm sorry, Alicia. I made a mistake, but you're the woman I want to marry. Don't throw us away because of one slip. I love you. You have to believe me." When she finally answered one evening, his voice was soft and pleading. "Alicia, please. Don't let this destroy us. We've come so far. Everything we've built, it's real. Emily doesn't matter to me. You're the one I want." Her throat tightened. She wanted to scream, "If I'm the one you want, why did you touch her? Why did you betray me?" But the words stuck. Instead, she whispered, "You didn't just break a promise, David. You broke me." And she ended the call before he could reply. But David was persistent. He sent flowers, letters, even showed up at her parents' house, begging to speak to her. Each time, her mother let him in, fussing over him like he was already her son-in-law. "You should at least hear him out," her mother urged Alicia one morning. "No man is perfect. A marriage isn't about feelings, it's about endurance. Think of the shame if you end it now. The whole community will talk." "The shame isn't mine, mother," Alicia replied bitterly. "It's his. It's Emily's. Why should I carry it?" Her mother sighed, looking away. "Because you're the older one. You're supposed to know better." Those words burned more than the betrayal itself. Know better? As though Alicia's pain was her own fault. As though choosing dignity over silence made her wrong. Her father, however, was different. Late at night, he knocked on her bedroom door and sat quietly beside her. He didn't push her to forgive. He didn't try to excuse anyone. He only placed a hand over hers and whispered, "You don't deserve this, my child. Whatever you choose, I'll stand with you." The quiet strength in his words gave Alicia a moment of peace. But even then, doubt crept in. Because Emily wasn't hiding anymore. She had grown bold, almost proud. At family gatherings, she lingered close to David, speaking to him in soft tones as though Alicia wasn't even in the room. She laughed too loudly at his jokes, touched his arm too easily, and looked at Alicia with a spark of triumph in her eyes. One evening, Alicia couldn't hold back. "Do you enjoy this?" she demanded, cornering Emily in the kitchen. "Do you enjoy watching me suffer?" Emily smirked. "Don't act like you never knew, Alicia. David was never really yours. You're too stiff, too serious. Men don't want someone who acts like their mother. They want someone who's alive." The words sliced through Alicia's chest. All her life, she had been told she was the responsible one, the dependable one. Now Emily had twisted that into a flaw, using it to justify betrayal. "I gave everything for this family," Alicia whispered, her voice breaking. "And this is how you repay me?" Emily shrugged, unbothered. "Don't blame me if he chose me." Alicia stormed out before her shaking legs gave way beneath her. That night, she lay in bed replaying every sacrifice she had ever made. The jobs she had turned down to stay close to home. The times she had lent Emily money, helped her cover her mistakes, defended her when their parents were disappointed. She had lived her whole life trying to protect her sister, and now her sister had stolen the one person she thought was hers alone. David's face haunted her. Emily's words poisoned her. Her mother's pleas for peace rang in her ears. And in the middle of it all, Alicia began to question herself. Was she really unlovable? Too serious? Too controlling? Did she somehow push David away? Her heart wanted to scream no, but her mind, bruised by betrayal, whispered maybe. Days turned into weeks, and the tension inside the family grew unbearable. Meals were eaten in silence, broken only by sharp remarks or forced smiles. Alicia avoided David, but he lingered, always waiting for a chance to beg her forgiveness. Emily flaunted her defiance, daring Alicia to fight back. Their mother pressed for reconciliation, terrified of scandal. Their father's quiet support was the only anchor Alicia had left. And beneath it all, Alicia's soul burned. She could not live in this shadow forever. She could not stay silent while her sister stole her life, and her fiancé pretended nothing had happened. The storm inside her grew, and she knew it was only a matter of time before it erupted. The confrontation was coming, and when it did, nothing in their family would ever be the same again. The tension had been building for weeks, and Alicia knew she could not keep holding it inside. She decided it was time. Tonight, the whole family would be there, and she would confront them both, David and Emily. She felt her heart hammering in her chest as she walked into the living room. Her parents sat there, Emily lounging as if nothing was wrong, and David standing stiffly waiting. "Enough," Alicia said, her voice cutting through the silence. "I'm done pretending. I want the truth. Now." David opened his mouth, but Alicia didn't let him speak. "No, you don't get to explain this anymore. You lied. You cheated. You hurt me. Every word you say is just another lie." Emily rolled her eyes, clearly unimpressed. "Alicia, calm down. You're overreacting. David's mine. Always has been. Mine." Alicia's voice rose. "You're my sister, and you think you can just steal my life." Her father leaned forward, voice calm but firm. "Alicia, let's all take a breath." "No, Dad," Alicia snapped. "Not this time. I've held my peace for too long. I've forgiven too much. And now the truth comes out." She turned to David. "Tell them. Tell everyone what you've been hiding from." David swallowed hard. His face looked pale, and for a moment he seemed unsure. But then, almost casually, he said, "It's true. I didn't just have an affair. I proposed to Emily." Alicia froze. The room went silent. Her mother gasped. Her father's face tightened with anger and disbelief. Emily smirked, looking triumphant. "You what?" Alicia whispered, shaking. "Yeah," David said, meeting Alicia's eyes. "I asked her to marry me. You were too serious, too controlling, too predictable. Emily is different. She understands me in ways you never could." The words hit Alicia like a punch to the stomach. First the betrayal of the kiss, then the months of lies, and now this, the ultimate betrayal. David had been planning this while she dreamed of a future with him, and Emily had known. Her hands trembled as she pointed at Emily. "You wanted this all along. You wanted my life." Emily shrugged, her voice cold. "I didn't take it, Alicia. He chose me. You weren't enough for him. You've always been too serious. It's nothing personal." Alicia's mother gasped again, her face pale. "Emily, how could you?" "Mom, stop," Alicia snapped. "This isn't about you. It's about them. About the people who lied, who betrayed, who thought they could destroy my life and take what was mine." Her father reached out, touching her shoulder. "Alicia." "No," she said firmly. "Not this time. I've carried their shame long enough. I've carried their lies, their games, their betrayal long enough. I will not be humiliated. I will not be silenced." Alicia turned fully to face them. "David, Emily, you are done with me. I am done with both of you. Take your love, take your lies, and leave me out of your world." She felt a strange calm wash over her, a fire replacing the pain. Her voice was strong now, steady. "I trusted you. I loved you. And you threw it all away. But I refuse to let this destroy me. You will not win." David tried to speak again, but Alicia held up her hand. "No. You will not explain. You will not beg. You have made your choice, and so have I. Goodbye." She walked out of the room, her head held high, feeling the weight of the betrayal still heavy, but lighter somehow for having faced it. Behind her, the family sat in stunned silence. Emily's smirk faltered as she realized Alicia was truly walking away. David's confident posture collapsed, and her parents, finally understanding the depth of the betrayal, looked at their daughter with quiet pride. Alicia stepped outside into the cool night air. She breathed deeply, letting the wind fill her lungs. Her heart still ached, but her spirit felt alive. For the first time in weeks, she felt like herself again. She had lost them both, her sister, her fiancé, but she had reclaimed her dignity. And for Alicia, that was more important than any. Alicia didn't look back. After the confrontation, she packed her things quietly and left the house she had grown up in, leaving behind the memories of a family torn apart by lies and betrayal. She found a small apartment in the city, modest but hers. No one could reach her there. No one could remind her of what she had lost. She cut all contact with David and Emily. No calls, no messages, no social media. At first, the silence was heavy, almost unbearable. She missed the life she thought she would have, the wedding, the shared dreams, the comfort of family. But the freedom from constant pain, from manipulation and betrayal, was a relief she hadn't realized she needed. At first, whispers followed her. Her parents tried to intervene, suggesting she forgive them for appearances. Extended family asked questions at gatherings, shaking their heads at the scandal. Neighbors and friends murmured about what had happened. Alicia could feel the gossip pressing in on all sides, trying to shame her, trying to make her doubt herself. But she refused to bend. She had been silenced too long. She began seeing a therapist, someone patient who listened without judgment. Slowly, she learned to untangle the emotions that had tangled around her heart. Anger, sadness, disbelief, they all came, and she let them. Each session gave her a little more strength, a little more clarity. She began to understand that her worth wasn't tied to the people who had betrayed her. She wasn't defined by their choices, or by their failure to love her properly. Work became her new focus. She threw herself into her career, taking on new projects that challenged her and gave her confidence. She met colleagues who valued her dedication and kindness, people who saw her for who she truly was. Slowly, the walls of loneliness she had built around herself began to crumble, replaced by independence and pride. The world outside kept moving. Rumors of David and Emily spread, and Alicia heard through quiet channels that their relationship was already falling apart. Arguments, mistrust, and jealousy had begun to eat away at them. It was almost like the universe was balancing itself. What they had tried to take from her was now slipping through their fingers. She felt no joy in it, only a quiet sense that justice, subtle and inevitable, had arrived. Even when she felt pangs of loneliness, she reminded herself she was stronger now. She could make decisions for herself, live for herself, and protect her heart. She no longer needed the approval of those who had betrayed her. Her parents began to accept her choices. Her mother still struggled, sometimes asking if she would forgive them one day, but Alicia stayed firm. Her father was quietly proud, offering support without words, simply present when she needed him. Alicia started to dream again, not of weddings or engagements, but of life fully her own. She planned trips, explored hobbies she had abandoned, and met new people who respected her. She felt lighter, freer, and more alive than she had in years. Every time she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw someone who had endured heartbreak and betrayal, but had refused to be broken. She had lost a fiancé and a sister, yes, but she had gained herself. For the first time in a long time, Alicia smiled without pain. She knew the path ahead wouldn't always be easy, but she also knew she could handle it. And that knowledge, that strength, was more precious than any love she had lost. Alicia sat by the window of her new apartment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The night was quiet, and for the first time in months, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She thought about everything that had happened: David, Emily, the lies, the betrayal. The pain was still there, sharp and raw, but it no longer controlled her. She remembered the moments when she had doubted herself, when she had asked why she wasn't enough, why the people she loved most could hurt her so deeply. Those questions still lingered, but now they carried a different weight. They were reminders of what she had endured and what she had survived. Alicia realized that betrayal had destroyed her illusions about love, family, and trust, but it had also given her something far more valuable: the courage to choose herself. She didn't need anyone else's approval or affection to feel whole. She could stand on her own, make her own decisions, and protect her own heart. There were scars, both visible and invisible. Sometimes she still flinched at the memory of David's hands on Emily, or the smug look on her sister's face. But those scars were part of her now. They marked the battles she had fought and won, the pain she had endured, and the strength she had gained. She took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs, and smiled softly to herself. Life was unpredictable, full of loss and heartbreak, but also of growth and new beginnings. Alicia had learned that even when the people we love the most betray us, we can rise from the ashes stronger than before. Her heart felt lighter than it had in years. She had learned to forgive, not them, not yet, but herself, for holding on too long, for trusting too much, and for loving deeply. And in that quiet, still moment, she whispered to herself with quiet certainty, "I lost a fiancé and a sister, but I found myself." Here's a concise 70-word version for your story. Hey besties, thanks for watching till the end. Alicia was about to marry the man of her dreams, but she caught him with her own sister. Betrayal, lies, and heartbreak tore her world apart, but she found strength, independence,